like for you to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to our listeners, because there's a lot of people that are not familiar with who you are from last time, and there's a lot of new things I know you're doing now.
My name is Michael Diaz. I'm a designer, an inventor, a web developer, and a product photographer who has been helping clients launch products for the past 8 years, specifically on Amazon, and generated over 20 million sales. I actually did the math, and I think it's more around like 30, but I'm trying to be more conservative. I'm glad that this podcast inspired me to actually like try and calculate that stuff. It's probably a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been making websites and doing branding and helping small businesses get a leg up. So that's a little bit about me. I love drawing. I love carpentry. I like hiking. I got constantly too many projects that I'm juggling, and trying to stay creative. That's my who I am introduction, I guess.
Yeah.
I make things. I'm a maker.
You're a maker. I think that encompasses everything that you do.
Yeah. I make stuff.
You make stuff. That's really awesome. I didn't even know that you were into carpentry, to be honest.
I just installed a screen door on our front door, and just noticed all kinds of different, like, that it wasn't sealed, and that the door jamb was all disrepaired. So I tried to, replace the rotten wood and sand it and repaint it, and built a thing or two in my day.
Yeah.
But I love doing that.
That's cool.
Not a job, though. Not a job.
Just as a hobby.
For fun. Yes, exactly.
Just for fun. Got it.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll make some furniture someday and sell the furniture. Hey, the price tag's right and it's worth the effort. Why not?
I could see that. Mike's Furnishings.
Mike's Furnishings.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe.
That'll do. That'll do.
Do you still do your CBT therapy you were telling me about last time?
I don't remember what type of therapy I was doing at that time.
Yeah.
But I probably was doing it with a therapist. Since then, I have done some like journaling, and I've done some EFT tapping therapy. That is emotional freedom technique. It's like some therapy technique pioneered in some decade beyond, I would say like the 80s, but it could have been like the 60s or the 50s or whatever. But basically, the premise behind this type of therapy is that by stimulating like meridian points in the body like this, as you're talking and saying and processing your emotion, you can kind of link what you're thinking to what you're feeling in the body and like release it more deeply. Whereas like regular CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is kind of like purely like, oh, there he is, he's sleeping.
I'm trying to put him on my lap.
He's getting there. Yeah, tapping. So basically, you say you're feeling like you're trying to like process some emotional grief. You might say like, even though I'm feeling very uncomfortable, I know that I am safe. Even though I'm feeling anxiety and unwell and feeling very stressed, I know that this will pass. Even though I'm feeling like I'm struggling or wanting to move through something right now, I have faith that I'll have the strength to get through it. And then you go like this on this meridian points, and then you can touch the stomach, and then you go back to the head, and you move through this, and you can vocalize, you can talk like in the first person, like I feel. If you're trying to process like some emotional grief that you had like as a child, and you're trying to like get into the mindset of who you were as a child, then you might speak in the first person and give that inner child voice and speak through it as you're tapping. And what I've found is that as I'm doing that, there's an emotional catharsis that comes up. Like I feel it more so because the tapping kind of brings you into the present to feel it physically. It's kind of a link between the thoughts that you're having, the emotions that you're feeling, and the physical body. I've had some pretty big releases from doing it.
Wow.
And I've seen benefit. And then immediately after the sessions were done, I have actively avoided it and not done it once. Because I just don't, the part of me that wants to heal or needs to heal doesn't want to heal because, that's a part of me and I have a resistance to it. But I know it's beneficial. Have you heard of this stuff before? Have you seen people doing this kind of stuff? To
be honest, no. I've never heard of it before.
It's pretty wild.
Can you repeat the name one more time?
It's for our listeners? EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique.
EFT.
And if you just search EFT, anxiety, depression, inner child work, you're going to find people walking you through a sequence that will bring up stuff. If you calm yourself and you focus in and you put your intention there.
Yeah.
And this woman that I worked with, she had like 3 parts to it. So the first part was kind of like what you're feeling. Then the second sequence that you're doing is kind of like what you want to feel. And then the third was kind of like a commitment to showing up for the part of yourself that needs to feel that way. And she like set it up by going like this. You set it up by saying, I'm feeling, I'm really not versed in this well enough, but you set up your process through here, then you go through the sequence. You set up again, and you go through the sequence.
Interesting.
I just think it's fascinating. Yeah.
This is some pretty interesting stuff. I'm definitely going to look that up after the podcast and find out more information about that.
I don't know if this is backwards. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Or is it backwards?
I can read it. It says this can look like fight or flight, being aggressive, defensive, having high anxiety, or shut down, isolating yourself, disassociation, depression.
These are like unresolved trauma creates a nervous system dysregulation in the body. And then it says this can look like, I didn't know what I was even showing you. This can look like fight or flight. And then it says in healing trauma, it's important to understand how to create safety. To do this, you'll need to become your own mentor, guiding yourself through the process. The first step is to become conscious during the trauma response, screaming, controlling, being aggressive, self-critical, panicking, shutting down, not feeling in your body, becoming the witness of what is happening. Like this is the Holistic Psychologist, amazing account, by the way.
I'm
definitely recommend following it. The Holistic Psychologist, pretty great. She's wonderful. She like gives really practical ways to kind of like, I don't know, make your life better. But she says like breathe and give yourself these affirmations. I'm an adult with agency. I have a choice in how I respond. This is a trauma response. I'm going to get through this, kind of like those tapping kind of affirmations. I love and accept myself in this very moment. Next, you'll need to release it from your body, like crying or doing deep belly breaths or going for a fast-paced walk. She's just giving you like physical things. Tapping is probably, can be effective in that. And then you can engage in like self-soothing, to journal, to listen to music, to hold your hands on your heart. I don't know. This is a potent one, so I figured I'd just vomit it out here.
Yeah.
There's a light there. Like I think people will inevitably be drawn to this like medicine on these platforms, and a switch will occur. But yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, I actually love following accounts like that because it's really good for your mental health and like processing things and like past trauma, whether childhood or even recent, and just trying to get through things. Like everyone is infected by mental health, I believe.
Sure. Definitely.
I know this is like kind of off topic now, but it's kind of like, I feel like it still correlates. I'm just going to ask
it. All does. Sure.
I'm just going to ask it anyway. Because you had like this post on your Instagram account recently called Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And I had literally never had heard of that term until just recently, literally from your post. And I was like, what is that?
Great.
So I don't
Great.
know if you want to like explain a little bit what that means to our
Sure.
listeners,
Yeah.
but you could go ahead.
So, I mean, as a photographer, I'm constantly shown amazing, beautiful pictures and, ways for it to look better. And it just, it, it encourages this idea that like, if you get this camera, lens, gear, rig, vacation, plane ticket, you'll get the picture that will get you to the place that will give you the feeling of accomplishment that you're seeking.
Mm,
Um, and it's very pervasive in the photography industry,
yeah,
in almost every industry. Whether it's
sure.
having a watch or having a car or whatever it is, you have this desire to like acquire it to
Hmm.
fill the void. um and I mean, I'm still doing it. It's just transferred. I've done less photography and done more branding and website work, so my
Yeah.
need for a camera has diminished.
Hmm.
So I look at my iPhone and I'm like, this thing is taking great enough pictures. It's better than any camera from the 1990s, except for film, obviously.
Yeah,
And it
that's for
doesn't
sure.
have depth. um but
Hmm.
it's good enough to make things that I marvel at or am proud of or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But it's just transferred now to the hiking. So now I'm going hiking and I have to hike 33 miles. And
Mm-hmm.
every pound that I carry is going to be a little bit more sock on the trail. It's going to be heavier. So I try and find the cheapest, lightest, most, effective things that can keep me warm and safe and full
Mm.
while I'm out there. And it's all just a distraction from the work that I know actually heals that void, that pain or that emotion I'm trying to transmute into something more positive.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, ideally the gear acquisition syndrome switches to, heel acquisition syndrome. And then inevitably that leads you to the epiphany that accepting yourself as you are and embracing this moment for whatever it presents and whatever feelings are coming up is your ability to do that in the toughest moments end up giving you the sense of calm that we're all
Yeah.
flying.
I feel like it's such a vicious cycle that a lot of creatives find themselves in with as far as the gear acquisition
Oh yeah.
syndrome. Like having to always have the latest and greatest to feel like you're even staying relevant or like in the game or that your work is even good, because if you don't have that then you're like nothing or your work sucks. But it's
I
really all in our
mean,
heads.
I what is it? I realize like I haven't done this or like talked about like what I make per year. You know what I mean? I probably said it the last one, but like I made, I don't know, like 50. I I made 50, over 50 using a T3i. And granted a great laptop that can handle it, but that
Yeah.
laptop, a T3i, which is like a $300 or $400 camera,
Yeah.
and a $100 lens, just to shoot, product photography. But then I went and I learned how to use the graphic design software to make Amazon listings and to,
Hmm.
to write out the copywriting.
Hmm.
Um, but, you
Wow.
know, as I actually got more gear, the process was even more inundated and the pay didn't increase.
Yeah.
Um, so, and to be honest, I know a friend who literally just takes a little. I mean, granted, he has great cameras, all this stuff, but he just takes a little setup and goes to shoots and
Hmm.
makes a killing. Just takes. The guy went to an event and took like 20 pictures, and all those 20 pictures were bangers, perfect. And
I
he just
bet.
like zip, 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 done, and he's done with the project, and he get paid for it. And
Mm.
it's like that kind of skill. That's like years, decades of nonstop just taking photographs, just taking
Hmm.
more photographs,
Hmm.
um, ends up getting him paid more and minimizing and reducing and streamlining the whole process. So the
Hmm.
gear actually becomes an impediment, and it can become an impediment. There is a place, there is a need, there is a, you know, If you're shooting a low light film in the dark and you don't have something that can handle the ISO, then you're gonna be in a sticky situation, you know.
Yeah,
But you get it.
I get it.
The question becomes not how to combat gear acquisition syndrome. They're telling people it's simple or this, that, or the other, but why does it happen to begin with? Why does gear? I don't know. I'm trying to ask a bigger question. I don't know what that question is. I think it might be why does it exist to begin with?
Yeah. I
What do
feel
you
like
think?
I feel like it's because we're always trying to meet a certain standard, or what we think the standard is as far as what society thinks we should have to be considered good or great, or what's acceptable in our industry. And if you don't have whatever that is, that definition of what you think is great or what society thinks is great, then you're not going to amount to anything, is what's perceived, but it's really all a lie. That's what I think.
So you see these amazing images and you think, I gotta have the good camera to make these amazing images. Or conversely, I guess I'm thinking in the situation where, you know, there's an agency and they're hiring you and they say, what camera do you have? And you have a Canon RP instead of an R. Are they going to say no to you because you don't have the right gear? Well,
Yeah.
the response or the counter argument is probably, well, if they look at your Instagram profile and they love the pictures that they see, it doesn't matter what thing that you have.
Exactly.
Right? So,
exactly. Thank you.
You know, I bet that they rarely ask what kind of stuff they are. They probably, if you're shooting for like the New York Times or National Geographic, they probably need to have pixel demands and sizing demands. But now Adobe Photoshop synthetically upsizes images to any pixel amount. Granted, not to say that there aren't, again, things that require and demand certain levels of quality, but
yeah.
We're sold, what is it? We're sold that we need the thing to be good enough.
Exactly.
That's the base. That's the base foundation. If you have the thing, then you'll be good enough. And what ends up happening is that the ones who ends up succeeding believe that they're good enough regardless of what they're using. And how did they get there? How do you get to a place where you feel like you're good enough? Do you listen and observe enough as a photographer to feel comfortable in your own skin, and through that process of observing, you see other people, and by seeing other people fully and to capture them, you thus are better at seeing yourself. And if you're better at seeing yourself, then you catch yourself in those moments of trauma. And if you catch yourself in those moments of trauma, then you gain agency over yourself, as this post was saying.
Yeah.
That's a weird correlation. Maybe some of the best photographers are good because they think that they're good enough, and they think that they're good enough because they see. Yeah, there's some translation there, some parallels.
You know, that actually reminds me, I totally forgot when we were like talking about the gear acquisition syndrome. I actually wanted you to pull up your animations. I thought it was so cool. I don't know if you can do that on the screen share.
Yeah, I can do that here.
Because I thought it'd be really cool for everyone to see it, actually.
Oh, goodness, yeah. Now, let's see.
The way you depicted it, it was like spot on, and I was like, it was really cool. I'm pretty sure everyone will appreciate it too.
I actually posted this out of order, but this is again part of like the perfectionism thing, that I have to kind of move through.
There it is.
Yeah, here's me with a camera, or somebody that looks at me in the zone, looking all squiggly, taking pictures, having fun, this color, and I'm looking around for stuff, and oh, there comes a new camera. So I toss it away, and as soon as you toss it, you lose this momentum that you have when you think that you need the thing, and you stop focusing on what you really get benefit from, which is being in the zone and taking the pictures. That's what levels you up the most.
Yeah.
and you look and you focus, and now your eyes are on the camera instead of on the picture.
Mhm.
And you're going for it, and you're going to get it, and then you get blown up by it when you grab it. You finally get the emotion. It shocks you, and what is it? Maybe there's some better parallels here. You finally get the thing, but you end up realizing you're not as full as you thought you were. It doesn't fill the hole that you thought it would fill. And here it is, kind of creating from that exhaustion, your shadow, or the parts of yourself ignored tend to arise, which you can see here. And I've looked at that in the form of like my inner child trying to communicate to me that the old things can be more fruitful and can reignite your passion or fill things. Or if you pay attention to the old things, they can fill your cup, so to speak, and give you the love or that heart that you're looking for. The heart bubbles.
That is so great. At the end of the day, though, everyone should just value themselves and value their work and know your worth and add tax.
and add tax. How do you get there? How do you help people? Who are your viewers? Who is listening to this podcast? Are they photographers? Who's listening to your podcast?
Honestly, it's entrepreneurs and creatives as a whole. That's who I'm targeting. So just creatives, like, doesn't necessarily have to be a photographer.
So finding a place where you can feel good enough before you embark or before you hit the jackpot. How can you empower entrepreneurs to get mentally there? So encouraging like self-love might be potent, like doing nice things for yourself, making yourself a bath, doing, eating nice things for yourself, looking yourself in the mirror and doing like mirror work, telling yourself I love you while you're making eye contact with yourself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Sitting with negative emotions and then, like, I don't know, I guess accepting them and knowing that they'll pass, and then